There are some fresh developments coming by where Mr. R SESHASAYEE, John Etchemendy and Jeffrey Lehman have written a joint statement defending themselves actually from the accusations made by Mr. Murthy. At least that's what it looks prima facie from reading the statement. But I think Chandra, our colleague who has been on the top of this story, has scanned through this letter. Chandra, what are the contents? What exactly, which side of the battle are they on currently?
So, this is a direct response to Mr. Narayana Murthy's statement day before yesterday on the investor call, where he accused R SESHASAYEE of lying to shareholders at AGM. In fact, he didn't accuse him directly, but he quoted the whistleblower complaint that alleged that, and he accused some board members of misleading shareholders. He also spoke about Rupa Kudva and Jeff Lehman, telling him that he will have to sign a non-disclosure agreement to disclose the NDA. So today there is a joint statement coming from former Infosys chairman R SESHASAYEE, who stepped down, saying that though he hasn't made any public statements despite provocations, he's been forced to respond because of Narayana Murthy's statement to investors. He's also said that he's only doing this to defend himself against personal attacks and slanderous accusations. He also says that he's always been candid and truthful in all his statements concerning Infosys, and to quote an anonymous whistleblower letter that alleged many things is patently offensive. So, that he's clearly taken offense to what Mr. Murthy said during that investor call day before. Mr. SESHASAYEE goes on to say that it's regrettable that Mr. Murthy's campaign on the alleged governance lapses has continually slipped into personal attacks and slander on individual board members. So that is the big statement that he's given. More importantly, he's also said that it was Narayana Murthy who invited him to join the board and entrusted him with the chair of audit committee responsibility. Therefore, he's at a loss to understand the motivations for this persistent vendetta. Now, that is the end of SESHASAYEE's statement. There are also two other board members who have backed him on this, the two former board members who resigned along with SESHASAYEE last week. One, of course, is John Etchemendy, who says that Sesh is a man of impeccable integrity and that he has always responded with scrupulous honesty and forthrightness, and that he can categorically say that, what SESHASAYEE said is not different from the collective view of the board as far as former CFO Rajiv Bansal's severance pay is concerned. Finally, another former board member, Jeffrey Lehman, who quit last week, said that he had the privilege of serving on the Infosys board for more than 11 years under several different chairs, but that during his tenure, SESHASAYEE was scrupulously devoted to ensuring that the board apply with all applicable principles. And for the good of Infosys, he wishes that Narayana Murthy would stop quoting the lies in the whistleblower complaint as if they were reputable, and that he would stop defaming SESHASAYEE. So this is, three former board members, clearly two former board members backing SESHASAYEE, and SESHASAYEE himself defending himself against those personal attacks by Narayana Murthy, who quoted the whistleblower complaint to say that R SESHASAYEE had perhaps lied and misled shareholders in the AGM last year when he said Rajiv Bansal's severance pay was paid because he had company secrets. But Narayana Murthy's allegation is this was done as hush money to cover up the Panaya acquisition. So, at this point, we clearly need to remember that, the company itself has moved on. You have Nandan Nilekani as chairman. They are in the search for a CEO. So I feel it's unlikely that you will hear something else from Narayana Murthy after this, and, it will become another back and forth sort of game. I think this response from SESHASAYEE was certainly expected because Narayana Murthy's investor call on Tuesday projected him and some of the board members in a very bad light because Narayana Murthy kept emphasizing that he had no problems with the CEO. It was only the governance that was a terrible letdown, and that if he hadn't continued his campaign, it would have mortally wounded Infosys. So I think SESHASAYEE's defense is certainly expected. But this is different because, it's not SESHASAYEE issuing an individual statement, but it's a joint statement coming from him and two former board members. And interestingly, Jeff Lehman has actually been on the board of Infosys for the last 11 years. So he's one of the long-serving members. He too has defended SESHASAYEE and said Murthy must stop defaming him. So I think this is sort of becoming an individual battle at this stage, but hopefully it will not impact company sentiment because, SESHASAYEE has moved on. Narayana Murthy also seemed to indicate in the investor call that he's happy with Nandan as chairman, so we won't see these counterattacks continuing. Back to you.
Right. Chandra, like you said, a person who's been on the board for 11 years, so vehemently backing Mr. SESHASAYEE, and while he himself has always been away from making public statements, with him making this public statements, the battle is out in the open. That is something that clearly seems to be the signal that, both sides of the parties seem to be giving. In fact, Amit Tandon from IIS is now joining us on the show to just talk about this. Mr. Tandon, like I was saying, the battle has been out in the open actually since some time now. We're just having more participants in this war between the promoters and the management. What exactly does this do to the what is the message this sends to the shareholders of Infosys? Because once upon a time poster boy for corporate governance, and then of course you have a company that has moved on. Nevertheless, these are issues that turn out to be legacy. They haunt the company going forward as well. How does this really play out on the image of the company?
I haven't seen this. Justice. Both of them are extremely respected.
Mr. Tandon, I'm afraid we've caught you on a really bad line. Chandra, I just want to ask you as well the same, similar question. It's while, like you said, the company has moved on, but such statements do affect the reputation of the company. A company that has a large amount of foreign investors as well invested in it. It's something that does hurt the company's reputation. Do you think that Infosys would perhaps come out with a statement, refuting the allegations, or perhaps, countering Mr. SESHASAYEE and whatever else he has mentioned in the letter?
I'm not sure what Infosys' strategy is going to be at this point, because Nandan Nilekani clearly said last week that they want to be, as under the radar as possible after all the noise that he described in the last few months. And I really don't know if they will issue a statement defending, three former board members who resigned on the same day as Nandan Nilekani came on the board. So I'm not sure if they will get into this because, it is a fight between two individuals now. Okay, I believe we have J.N. Gupta, former senior executive of SEBI, joining us on the phone line. Mr. J.N. Gupta, thank you for talking to ET. Now, we're just breaking the story. There's been a statement from former Infosys chairman R SESHASAYEE, where he said that though he's distanced himself all these days, he finds Narayana Murthy's attacks offensive and something that's harming his reputation. You also have two other former board members, John Etchemendy and Jeff Lehman, defending him. On the face of it, what do you make of it? Was this expected after Narayana Murthy's call with investors on Tuesday, where he blamed the board for pretty much everything?
See, as I have been maintaining right from day one, that Mr. Murthy has been attacking the board, individuals, although denying every time that he has no agenda, he is not attacking individual, he is asking for a gold standard governance and blah, blah, personally. And without any basis, a unnamed whistleblower has written something. Tomorrow, if unnamed whistleblower writes something against Nandan Nilekani or Mr. Murthy, will that be given the same weight by Mr. Murthy? I don't think any at all. Secondly, it is very simply, if you throw mud at me, it will stick to me and my reputation will be tarnished. So since I am a man of integrity, reputation, I will head back to you if I have not done anything wrong. And it was very much expected, and I had very clearly told that if I was in Mr. SESHASAYEE, I would not have resigned. But Mr. SESHASAYEE has resigned because he did not mean bad for the company. He wanted the company to move forward. So I would applaud him for that. At the cost of risking his reputation, he has resigned. But then it is not end of it. we were very simply expecting. Now, other board members have come out in support of SSI. And I think because if you look at what Mr. Bala had been talking, that Rupa Kudwa should go and Venkateshan should go, all these things, sooner or later, there is going to be a big fight of personalities.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.